Imagine a man so powerful, so respected, and so connected on Wall Street that he could lie to presidents, deceive the SEC, and convince billionaires that he was the safest bet in town. Now imagine that man ran the largest Ponzi scheme in human history, stealing $65 billion, not just from the rich and famous, but from retirees, charities, and hospitals. This isn't fiction. This is the real story of Bernie Madoff, the man who destroyed lives, shook the global financial system, and left a permanent scar on New York's elite. But this isn't just about one man. This is about a family, a carefully constructed facade of wealth and trust that helped Bernie create the illusion, and perhaps knowingly or unknowingly, enabled the biggest financial crime the world has ever seen. What happened inside the Madoff empire is darker than greed. It's a tale of betrayal, power, and unimaginable loss. To the world, Bernie Madoff was a genius. He founded Bernard L. Madoff Investment Securities LLC in 1960 with just $5,000 and over the next 5 decades turned it into one of Wall Street's most trusted firms. He was the chairman of NASDAQ. He rubbed shoulders with billionaires and advised regulators. Celebrities and hedge funds lined up to give him their money. Why? Because Bernie never lost. In a volatile market, Madoff delivered consistent, safe returns year after year. It looked like magic, but it wasn't magic, it was fraud. Pure, cold, calculated fraud. Behind the scenes, there were no actual trades, no stock purchases, no risk management, no strategy. Just fake account statements printed by a dot matrix printer showing phony profits. Bernie wasn't investing, he was robbing Peter to pay Paul, using new investors' money to pay off old ones. A classic Ponzi scheme, except on a scale no one had ever seen before. Bernie's charm wasn't just in his spreadsheets. It was in his family image. His wife, Ruth Madoff, was seen as the quiet, elegant matriarch. His sons, Mark and Andrew, were top executives at the firm. Together, they gave the illusion of a clean, tight-knit financial dynasty. People trusted Bernie because they trusted the Madoff name. It felt safe. It felt personal. And that's exactly how Bernie wanted it. But behind closed doors, the walls were cracking. The family business had 2 very separate parts: the legitimate broker-dealer side, which was real, and the investment advisory business, which was a total fraud. This advisory side operated on a separate floor, behind locked doors, with restricted access and a skeleton crew who reported only to Bernie. Even some employees admitted later they never fully understood what was going on upstairs, or if they did, they didn't ask questions. Still, people wondered, did the family know? Could Ruth, Mark, or Andrew really live in luxury mansions, buy yachts, and fly private without ever noticing the money didn't add up? Let's talk about the money. The Madoff family lived like royalty. Bernie had multiple properties: a penthouse on Manhattan's Upper East Side, a sprawling estate in Montauk, a Palm Beach mansion, and even a luxury villa in the south of France. There were country club memberships, private jets, and artwork worth millions. Mark Madoff had a $6 million loft in Soho. Andrew had a $4.4 million apartment on the Upper West Side. They weren't shy about their spending. The firm even had a corporate yacht, because of course it did. Ruth Madoff reportedly spent $100,000 a month on household expenses. Bernie's office had luxury furniture, tailored suits, and catered lunches daily. All of it was paid for with stolen money, investors' retirement funds, charities' endowments, Holocaust survivors' savings, and university scholarships. And all the while, Bernie maintained the same calm demeanor. He played golf with billionaires. He smiled for the press. He even sat on financial regulatory boards, helping shape the very rules he was breaking every single day. The real horror of the Madoff story isn't just the number, $65 billion. It's the people who lost everything. Thousands of victims were wiped out. Some were rich, yes, but many were middle-class investors, retirees, and nonprofit organizations who had trusted Bernie with their life savings. The Elie Wiesel Foundation lost $15 million. A trust for Holocaust survivors was decimated. Hospitals and universities were devastated. Thousands of average people who had invested their pensions, thinking they'd secured their future, suddenly found themselves bankrupt. The ripple effect was massive. Suicides, bankruptcies, divorces. People who had never done anything wrong lost everything. Madoff didn't just steal money, he stole trust. In institutions, in financial advisors, and in the system. He destroyed the credibility of Wall Street, leaving behind a crater of doubt and trauma that still echoes to this day. Ironically, it wasn't the SEC, law enforcement, or whistleblowers that brought Bernie down. It was the 2008 financial crisis. When markets crashed, investors panicked. They rushed to withdraw billions. But Bernie, who'd been faking it for decades, couldn't keep up. There was no money left. The house of cards collapsed under the weight of its own lies. On December 11, 2008, Bernie Madoff was arrested by the FBI after confessing to his sons. He reportedly told them, "It's all one big lie." Mark and Andrew turned him in, but the question remained, did they really not know? The fall of the Madoff empire was swift and brutal. Bernie was sentenced to 150 years in prison. His victims tried to recover what they could, with a court-appointed trustee clawing back billions through lawsuits. But for most, the damage was permanent. Mark Madoff, Bernie's oldest son, committed suicide in 2010, exactly 2 years after his father's arrest. He hanged himself in his apartment while his 2-year-old son slept nearby. Andrew Madoff died of cancer in 2014, having spent his final years insisting he was unaware of the fraud. Ruth Madoff, once the queen of high society, became a pariah. She was forced to give up nearly all her assets and now lives a quiet, reclusive life. Bernie died in federal prison in 2021, alone, disgraced, and reviled. His death brought no closure, only more unanswered questions. The biggest mystery that still haunts the Madoff saga is, how much did the family know? Some former employees believed Mark and Andrew were kept in the dark. Others, including victims and investigators, say it's impossible they didn't see the signs. The SEC had been warned multiple times by whistleblowers like Harry Markopolos, who called Bernie's returns mathematically impossible, but they failed to act. Bernie himself insisted he acted alone. But was that another lie from the man who fooled the world? New York, the global capital of finance, was left in a state of shock. Bernie Madoff had been one of its own, a trusted insider, a symbol of wealth and respectability. When he fell, he exposed how deep the rot ran. Financial regulations were scrutinized. The SEC was humiliated. The investment community was forced to question everything. Billionaire friends like Steven Spielberg, Kevin Bacon, and countless others lost millions. Some hedge funds collapsed, law firms scrambled, and the glittering illusion of Wall Street's invincibility cracked forever. Madoff's fraud wasn't just financial, it was philosophical. He represented a culture obsessed with wealth, image, and unchecked ambition. His story is a cautionary tale of how trust, once broken, can take generations to rebuild. Even today, Wall Street operates in Madoff's shadow. Every investment advisor, hedge fund, and asset manager is forced to answer the unspoken question, are you the next Bernie? Because Bernie didn't just destroy portfolios, he destroyed confidence in the system itself. Take a moment to really ask yourself, if you were in Bernie's shoes, charismatic, powerful, adored, and faced with the temptation to cheat just a little, would you have crossed the line? And if you were his son, would you have looked deeper, or would you have believed what you wanted to believe? This isn't just a crime story, it's a human story, one about ambition, blindness, power, and how easy it is to lose your soul chasing the illusion of success. Bernie Madoff's empire was built on a lie that shattered thousands of lives. And yet, he operated for decades in plain sight, wearing a smile and shaking hands. That's the terrifying part. The system allowed it. Trust gave him power, and greed protected him. He stole $65 billion, but what he really took was hope. Hope that the system worked, that honesty mattered, and that wealth could be earned with integrity. In the end, Bernie Madoff didn't just destroy New York's financial elite. He destroyed faith in the idea of trust itself. If this story shocked you, disturbed you, or made you reflect, hit that like button and comment below. No more Madoffs. Subscribe for more real crime stories that expose the dark side of power, wealth, and human ambition. Because the truth isn't always glamorous, but it's always worth knowing. See you in the next one. Stay sharp, stay aware, and never trust the returns that look too good to be true.